familiar faces, and that's good. A little bit about me. I'm a doctoral student at Arizona State University. We conducted a study last year on the Fitness for Life elementary program, more specifically on the Wellness Weeks. We'll go more further in depth on that. We'll talk about how I went through and conducted my statistics, the teacher perceptions, and the students and parents. First off, I want to introduce the reason why this came into play. Basically, the CDC has reported in 2008 that about 25% of young children ages 9 to 13 don't participate in physical activity during non-school hours at all. All right, that's outstanding. Now, as a result of that, we see here that there's 32% now, year 2008, of children and adolescents are obese. Okay, obese, when you classify someone as obese, as higher than 30 BMI. That's a height to weight ratio. All right, and obesity, if you don't know, costs the nation over $147 billion a year. All right, medical costs, gas prices, everything plays in that factor there. So it's very important to get students moving. We need to get students moving during school. We need to get them to be competent, want to participate, and be active out of school. Okay. So, Dr. Corbin, Chuck Corbin, Guy, Leigh Mazure, Dolly Lambden, and Meg Grenier, okay? They came up with Fitness for Life elementary program. The Fitness for Life, if you don't know, is a middle school curricular model, middle school and high school. It's award-winning, comprehensive program. This is the first study that Fitness for Life for elementary has been come out. No one has ever done any studies or tests on the Fitness for Life elementary model, more specifically with the Wellness Weeks. So there's a call for that. There's a call for schools to target a healthy future and increasing physical activity. And also a call for schools that serve as intervention sites. Okay, intervention sites to provide students with opportunities to increase physical activity. On top of that, the new national organization, Michelle Obama, came out with Let's Move. Okay, Let's Move is basically a pathway to help students become healthy, get knowledge, inform parents about eating healthy and how to be physically active, and basically just in general, just helping kids become lifelong movers. The overview of the Fitness for Life elementary model is tailored to Wellness Weeks. Wellness Weeks are school-wide programs that the physical education specialist puts on for the school. All right, they can occur once every 9 weeks. All right, they could be after a semester for a week long, 5 days. All right, so if you do that, the math there, that's 4 Wellness Weeks for the entire year. There's 9 components that the physical education teacher can include. Things such as, signs, putting up chants. You can do physical activity breaks without a video, physical activity breaks with a video. As you can see here in the picture, there's a ton of DVDs that come with the program. It's easy to follow, and we're going to go into that more specifically here in a second. What else is important here is that the physical education, this elementary model is high in content knowledge. It's high in student learning, nutritional values, and increasing their physical activity concept knowledge. All right, they're doing that. Not only are they doing that in the physical education classroom, but they're also doing it in the regular classroom, and teachers are implementing it. Here at the bottom, I put a comment from one of the participating teachers. As far as the lessons, it's laid out so well, and this guide for teachers let you know exactly what you're going to cover and teach. All right, that was from a participating teacher in the study about the overall program. Like I said before, the purpose here is to examine the implementation of that certified physical education curricular model, Fitness for Life, and the school-wide wellness program, Wellness Weeks. Okay, we're going to find the perceptions of all the stakeholders during this study. Rationale behind this is that there was no studies found, like I said before, to help further body the knowledge of the implementation of school-wide programs, all right, and the implementation of wellness weeks and getting the stakeholders' perceptions. So what we did in the study, we took surveys from teachers, students, parents, interviewed teachers. We have a total of 7 teachers that we interviewed. We had 16 surveys returned out of 24. It's pretty good. The average years of teaching experience ranged, and the mean was about 10.1. All right, we had a min teacher of 3 years, and it ranged all the way up to 30 years. So we had a pretty good wide range of physical education teachers. Our student participants went really well. We had 446 students participating in the surveys, both pre and post. We'll talk more about in that second. The grades range K through 5, and the males and females were fairly similar. All right. And then lastly, our parents participated in surveys as well. That totaled to 335. Observations were taken with field notes on top of interviews throughout the academic year. Now here's some pictures that the research team took. This is a 2nd grade classroom. If anyone's a Kansas fan, she was real big on it. You can't see, there's a couple other posters around her classroom, but she was big on that, and she was also big on physical activity. Her first thought when this came in is, this might be overwhelming at first. I'll try it out, and just grew and started to love it. Okay. Here you see students that are going through a physical activity break with the use of videos, one of the components that you can use. Here's a kindergarten class. Okay, you see the kindergarten teacher there in the far right. All right, kindergartners here going through it, absolutely loved it. We had kindergarten teachers unanimously say that they want to continue to keep this going for the next years to come. This is the physical education multi-purpose room or class. We have an instructional model that you play for kids before the wellness week, lasting about 30 minutes, teaching the students the dance moves, getting students to feel competent in the classroom. And that allows the classroom teacher not to have such a difficult time implementing it in the classroom. Okay? Here you can see some signs that the teacher put up there on the rock wall pad. All right? Some of them talk about eating healthy, all right? Moving your muscles, making them stronger, all right? Stretching them, make them longer. Simple chants that they put around throughout the classroom. Like I said before, interviews were conducted. They were semi-structured in a manner. We had interview guides that we followed, but if the teacher felt like moving on and continuing on to a tangent, I allowed it. I used prompts, I continued the conversation, and then redirected our conversation based on our interview guides. So we answered all our questions needed there, but I kept it very, very semi-structured in manner. The interviewees were selected on them volunteering. I couldn't force them to interview. They're very strapped with time, but we got a fair number of interviews for this study. The instruments, I'll show you an example of one in a second here, but the instruments basically asked teachers first here whether they thought students were learning, okay? Whether they thought that teachers were competent, they feel competent, could they implement all the components, the putting up the signs, feeling comfortable working with the worksheets with the kids, press and play on the DVD. Basically, the surveys question them on that, ask them about support and the level of teacher involvement. How much did they actually do? What components did they actually include? Students' perception surveys, essentially whether they liked it or disliked it. Okay? Things if they learned about healthy nutrition and eating healthy or being active. Their thoughts on being active and seeing if that changed over our pre and post surveys. And then lastly here with our parent perception, that we asked if they were even aware that wellness weeks were occurring in the classroom. If they thought that their child came home and showed any differences in their physical activity behavior. All right? And then overall their thoughts on the program and if they were in support of it or not. Here was an example of one of the instruments used. You can see the happy faces. This is based on the 4-point Likert scale. All right, the extreme happy face is rated at a 4.0, and then the frowny face was rated at a 1.0. All right, this is for students, obviously, easy for them to read. Remember, we went K through 5, okay, so we had to have our younger students get read the question and then base it on that. I had some for management purposes on the data documentation. I took out, we had a lot of students just putting X's throughout every box. These younger kids, they were putting X's throughout the box. I just threw that out. We had, like I said, we had about 400 participants. We had a lot more, but I tossed some out for that. Okay, so we've been sitting kind of a long time here, and this is how it would work if we were in the classroom sitting for a fair amount of time. The classroom teacher is during the wellness week, asked to participate in physical activity breaks. If they did it, that was up to them. All right. So we're going to participate in a physical activity break. You're going to see an example of a second grade sample break. Okay. So everybody, please stand up for 1 second here. Sorry if it's too early for some. All right. So like I said, this is an instructional video. You know, at first it gives students the opportunity to feel comfortable, okay? Here you have the fitness instructor. He's teaching you how to do it. Everybody, let's do it here. This is the C, Y, I, L. This is second grade. And then a muscle pose. Okay, ready? Here we go. C, Y, I am fit. C, Y, I am fit. C, Y. There we go. I am fit because I exercise. Okay, so this is pretty good. We go through. It's pretty close to that. So like I said, he shows how to do the activities, making sure the students feel comfortable. He's doing some activities here. You guys can do some knee stretches. Here we go. Let's do a couple here. Stretch, warm ourselves up. These will be part of the physical activity break. All right, hopping on one foot. And the other. So second grades, they will go through this until right before we go through the actual sample. Okay? So if you make a mistake, it's okay. Just have fun. All right? So here we go. Bopping. And it's march. Can you guys hear back there? All right? C, Y, I am fit. Come on, I need to hear you. C, Y, I am fit. C, Y, I am fit because I am sure. There we go. All right. This is a hip-hop one, quickly. Hip-hop one for older students. Like I said before, you have that instructional segment, and then you go into your physical activity break. You guys are okay, you can sit down. Thanks. That was pretty good. It's kind of hard to do this without smiling. It's pretty awesome. Okay. Feel free, if you have any questions throughout, ask me. Okay, I'm not a big stickler on that. If you have any questions, anyone have any questions so far until we continue? No? Okay. All right, with our data collection, how we went about and collected our data. First, we did a pre, and it wasn't a typical pre-test of their perceptions. We give them our survey after the second week. Okay, so you have your first week after 9 weeks, your second week after 18. Okay, so we gave them their pre-survey test of perceptions after the second week. Then we followed up on it again for their last part of their fourth week. Okay, so students completed the surveys in the classroom that following week. The physical education specialists, they helped in distributing these surveys to teachers, put it in their boxes. Hey, come bring it back when you can in the next week or so. All right, that's how they were distributed. All right, and then obviously the interviews, they were occurred at random. Excuse me. We had volunteers. They were occurred at random throughout the academic year. It was for the most part based on their convenience. Our statistics that we took, all right, we took just the basic descriptives, means, standard deviations, and frequencies of their perceptions. The scale, their Likert scale was based on 4.0, so that's how we delineated what was what. The t-tests were conducted to find the differences between the pre and post perceptions on all surveys. All right, and then we found common themes throughout the teacher interviews. Now, our qualitative data here was real strong. Okay, we had 4 common themes that we found. The first being support. All right, here in reference to the textbooks, the elementary principal stated, you know, that is probably one of the biggest factors in maybe choosing not to participate because the material is not there in the classroom. That was one theme that we noticed, is that having the textbooks for each teacher would have been more beneficial for them to implement into the program. In our case, they were these Fitness for Life elementary model textbooks. They were only offered to the grades or the team. Okay, so the second grade team would have the DVDs with the activity break on it, and that proved to be cumbersome. The support with the administration has been great. It has been great even with the first year of doing something. All right, that was another common quote that we received there on the support, that the support from the administration and the physical education teacher was real high and very helpful. They were able to notify the teachers of when the physical or the wellness week was going to come up and prepare them on newsletters, things like that at home. All right, and teacher training was another common theme that we found. The teacher training seemed to be very low and unneeded. Here on the quote it says it's pretty simple, and you can see why they didn't need to put in that extra time to kind of train us on how to do it. It is pretty self-explanatory, so easy to learn. Okay, and that was from the kindergarten teacher. 2 other common themes that we got here was teacher buy-in. How to get the teachers to buy into the program. Here, the second grader teacher states, initially I had a mixed reaction. The one part of teaching, kind of feeling overwhelmed with things that are going on. Oh, one more thing to fit in. A little hesitant in the beginning, but once we got into it, I could really see the benefits of the program. Okay, that was a second grade teacher who just went out and tried it, and then proved to see that it was very easy to implement and liked it. The second here is from the elementary principal once again. I think teachers realize students need to move, and if they're sitting down too long, they're going to get tired. They're going to get less lessons. So they need that energy. So the principal was on board right from the beginning. Lastly, our common theme here of getting the students to buy in. All right, here the kids really love it. So even after wellness weeks, they asked about it. When are we going to go and do it again? That was very student driven. This program helped so much and got teachers who didn't necessarily want to start and try to implement it at the beginning actually started to do it later on, because you had overlapping of classrooms saying, hey, we're doing it in this class. How come you guys aren't doing it? That peer pressure drew on some teachers to prove that they wanted to do it. The kids like it, and they are focused on it. And they aren't looking to mess around. It's kind of like a dance step, and they almost have to follow it. So like I showed you that example, in some of those steps, they have to be paying attention. They have to be right on. Right? And this third grade teacher stated that it's very easy for them to stay on task. Okay, here in our results, all right, as you can see, this is our pre and post, there after our second week, all right, and for each parent, student, and teachers surveys. This showed their perception on the value of that Likert scale. Here in the beginning, the students' perceptions were roughly about 3.1. Okay, and then it proved after that on the post-perceptional survey to be roughly around 3.3. Okay, parents stayed around the same, and teachers showed a big difference here, going from 2.7, all right, to about 3. Okay. Breakdown of the student perceptional survey here. I'd like to talk about a few things here. As you see, they're pretty even. The biggest differences here were question number 4. That's this fourth bar here, okay, or column. It went from 3.08 to 3.31, all right, and that asked about, did you think that the wellness weeks helped improve their healthy eating habits, or them being more active? Okay, and that's where we ultimately want to get at as physical education teachers, is are students being affected by what you're implementing? And it shows here from our question that it is. Question 5 is another big difference at 2.87, and then rolling up to 3.03 after our post survey. All right. Our discussion on our study here is basically overall, and it showed a positive relationship between the implementation of the wellness weeks and the stakeholders' perceptions. All right, it's very important for physical education specialists as well as classroom teachers to have a program that solidifies student behavior in a positive manner. All right, the physical activity breaks and school-wide wellness weeks, they proved to be liked and easy to implement. All right, and to build upon this research, I think that we would need to continue and look at the effect of their physical activity during their leisure time. Okay, we want to start decreasing that statistic that we read in the first slide. Okay, we want to try, that's our ultimate goal. All right, now they're learning, they're enjoying it. Now can it tailor and start decreasing their inactivity during non-school hours? Some limitations to our study. Okay, we talked about the lack of attendance. If students didn't attend during the wellness week, they might come up with a different perspective of things and have a different perception. So we said if they could possibly have a different view. All right, Ames just so happened to land on our wellness week. That could have caused teachers to not implement all the components that they might have wanted to implement. Things like doing the chants or working on the lessons and worksheets. That could have been a deterrent because it lied on the Ames week. Okay? And then lastly, perception of the stakeholders. They could have changed more drastically from week 1 to week 2. Remember, our pre-survey was given to them after week 2. Okay? So there could have been a drastic change. Maybe at first, teachers didn't care for it at all. And then after the second week, they showed that they did. So that could have been a possibility of not seeing a drastic increase. Okay? And then finally, like I said before, the ratings do suggest that busy classroom teachers can have the opportunity, are able to implement this type of activity, Wellness Week program, with your materials and support, shows that it is easy to implement. All right, and then teachers, students, and parents all had positive perceptions on the program, and that was our final conclusion: is that it is very high and shows it to be beneficial for all participants. All right, now this is your opportunity to ask me questions. I do like questions, so if you have any, please ask some about the program. If not, be free to go. Yeah, Larry?
So how do we get this information?
How do you get the information?
I mean, can we get the Fit for Life? Can we get the materials?
Oh, okay. So the materials, I'm not a salesman in any way. I just did a study on it. But I would imagine that you can find the materials on the Human Kinetics website. It's an HK publishing.
Okay, so it's not something you...
That I'm selling it all now. Just testing the pilot. It's a pilot study of a brand new Fitness for Life elementary model. Okay. Yeah.
You showed us the second grade short little video. Is it the same for third grade, fourth grade? Are they all different?
Good question. No, the second grade model that we actually went through, the CMYIM Fit, that is different than all grades. Every grade has a different video. The second little clip that we got there, more hip hop, that's for the upper developmental 3 level. Okay, students, in my opinion, I feel like Dr. Corbin did a very good job on tailoring the developmental level for each video. you got hip hop, you got dance moves. It's a little more cool, if you will. Good question. There's a question over here, Charles.
I was just curious about the going back to the graph. The second to last. What was the second to last survey?
The second to last survey?
Yeah, because that one was lower, I think, than the pre. Yeah.
These two questions here, the breakdown, or you're looking at?
I was the specific survey for that last graph.
That one that you said.
The questions.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, your question. Oh, thanks for asking. I appreciate that, Charles. All right. No, that's a good question. Here, for the breakdown of the student survey, it shows a slight decrease here on question 7. Basically, it was their thoughts on physical activity, on being healthy. All right. Did they feel like it was important? So it was, going to stay around the same. You never know what you're going to get with kids, but for the most part, it's pretty even. All right, we're maybe off by a .0 something, 10th or 100th of a decimal place. Yeah.
Maybe I missed it. What's question 6?
Question 6?
Yeah, it seems like really low number.
Yeah, this is whether they talked at home about the wellness weeks. That's a good question. If you know kids, they don't. Hey, what'd you do what'd you do at school today? Nothing. I'm going to do something else. They don't want to talk to their parents. So it's pretty funny that that is like that, because it's true. Good question. Anything else? All right. I appreciate you guys coming and watching and paying attention. Thanks.